Good afternoon, everyone. This is Christine Joy L. Besa, a BE Ed 2 student. So, the assigned chapter to our group is the chapter 19 entitled El Filibusterismo, published in Ghent. So, our PowerPoint presentation is composed of 24 slides. We are 6 in our group, so each of us will be discussing 4 slides. I will be the one to discuss the first 4 slides, followed by Ms. Muleg, Mr. Agamata, Mr. Corpus, Ms. Pagilla, and lastly, Ms. Tumamaw. So, chapter 19 is all about the publishing of El Filibusterismo. Day in and day out, Rizal was busy revising and polishing the manuscript of El Filibusterismo so that it could be ready for the press. So, for an overview, let's have the first slide of the chapter 19. Let me read it first before I will discuss it. October 1887, he began writing it in Calamba while practicing medicine. 1888, he made changes in the plot and revised the chapter already written. He wrote more chapters in Paris, Madrid, and Biarritz. March 29, 1891, he finished the manuscript in Biarritz after 3 years. From Brussels, Rizal moved to Ghent, where printing was cheaper. September 1891, El Filibusterismo came off the press. So, on October 1887, Rizal had begun writing the manuscript of El Filibusterismo while he was practicing medicine in Calamba. On 1888, the following year in London, Rizal made some changes in the plot and corrected some chapters already written. On March 29, 1891, Rizal finished the manuscript in Biarritz. It took him 3 years to write the second novel. From Brussels, Rizal left Brussels for Ghent. Ghent is a famous university city in Belgium. September 1891, this is the time when the El Fili came off the press. This made Rizal a happy man. He immediately sent 2 printed copies to Hong Kong. One is for Basa and the other one for Sixto Lopez. And for the second slide, July 5, 1891, Rizal left Brussels for Ghent. Reasons: the cost of printing in Ghent was cheaper than in Brussels. Second, to escape from the enticing attraction of Petite Suzanne. Owing to his limited funds, Rizal lived in a cheap boarding house with Jose Alejandro as roommate. They lived frugally in Ghent for 3 months from July to September. To economize further on their living expenses, they prepared their own breakfast. So, on July 5, 1891, Rizal left Brussels for Ghent, a famous university city in Belgium. He has reasons for moving to Ghent. First is the cost of printing in Ghent was cheaper than in Brussels. And second is to escape from the enticing attraction of Petite Suzanne. Rizal has limited fund that time, so he lived in a cheap boarding house with his roommate Jose Alejandro. The two men lived with a frugal life, or in a simple and plain life, a life with little costing, or in other words, economical. To be more economical, the two prepares their own daily breakfast because if they will cook their own, the landlady will reduce their rent so much. So for the third slide, it is composed of 2 pictures of Ghent. So let me tell you something about this place based on what I have read in the book. Ghent is a famous university city in Belgium. Rizal moved in Ghent for the 2 reasons as I have said earlier. First is the cost of printing is cheaper in Ghent compared to Brussels, and the other one is to escape from the enticing attraction of Petite Suzanne. In Ghent, he met 2 compatriots, namely Jose Alejandro from Pampanga and Idilberto Evangelista from Manila. In Ghent, Rizal lived in a cheap boarding house together with Jose Alejandro. At first, they paid for lodging and breakfast. But then, Alejandro talked to the landlady and find out that if without breakfast, she will reduce the rent so much. So Rizal made his calculations in order to budget his little fund. In Ghent, Rizal searched for a printing shop that could give him the lowest quotation for the publication of his novel. He found a publisher, the F. Mayer van Loo Press number 66 Vianderen Street, who was willing to print his book on installment basis. Ghent is the place where the second novel of Rizal entitled El Filibusterismo was published, and it was on September 18, 1891. Ghent is the birthplace of the manuscript of El Fili. So that's all about the third slide. Next is the fourth slide. It is a picture of Jose Alejandro and the picture of the University of Ghent. So let me tell you first about Jose Alejandro. Jose Alejandro is the roommate of Rizal in Ghent. He is with Rizal through their hard life in Ghent. He was a close friend of Rizal. Years later, he became a general during the Filipino-American War of 1899 to 1902 and became also an engineer. And then Ghent University, or the University of Ghent, it is a public research university located in Ghent, Belgium. Its former name is State University of Ghent. Its motto in English was Dare to Think, and in Latin, Odire Sapiens, which means in English, Dare Wisdom. So that's all about the first four slides of the chapter 19. Thank you for listening. Good afternoon, everyone. This is Mary Ann Muleg. The printing. The publisher F. Mayer van Loo Press number 66 Vianderen Street, who was willing to print his book on installment basis. He pawned his jewels in order to pay the down payment and early partial expenses during the printing of the novel. Rizal became desperate because his funds were running low. He received some money from Basa and 200 from Rodriguez Arias for the copies of Morgas Sucesos sold in Manila, but these funds were also used up. July 1891, Rizal wrote a letter to Basa saying that if no money comes, he will have to stop its publication. August 6, the printing had to be suspended, as Rizal feared, because he could no longer give the necessary funds to the printer. El Filibusterismo comes off the press. Valentin Ventura heard Rizal's predicament. He immediately sent the amount of money needed to finish the publication of the novel. September 18, 1891, El Fili came off the press. Rizal immediately sent 2 copies to Hong Kong, one for Basa and the other to Sixto Lopez. He gratefully gave the original manuscript of El Fili and the printed copy with his autograph to Valentin Ventura. Filipino patriots praised the novel. The members of the colony of Barcelona published a tribute in La Publicidad, a Barcelona newspaper eulogizing the novel's original style, which is comparable only to the sublime Alexander Dumas, a model and precious jewel in the now decadent literature of Spain. Thank you for listening.
Good afternoon, ma'am. Good afternoon, classmate. This is John Michael Balagan Agamata, a BSED 2 student major in Filipino. So the slide that was given to me is all about the manuscript of El Filibusterismo. Here, we will discuss or we will tackle about the dedication of the novel and the manuscript of the novel. Allow me to read first the slide before I will give my explanation. So here we go. The liberal Madrid newspaper, El Nuevo Regimen, serialized the novel in its issues of October 1891. All copies of the first edition or Ghent edition of El Fili were placed in a wooden boxes and shipped to Hong Kong. But almost all the boxes were confiscated and all the books were lost. The book immediately became rare and few available Ghent copies were sold at very high prices. reaching as high as 400 pesetas per copy. So, sinasabi dito na nagserye ang nobela sa mga isyu nito noong Oktubre 1891 sa pahayagang El Nuevo Regimen. Nilulan ito sa malalaking kahon na gawa sa kahoy upang dalhin sa Hong Kong. Ngunit nakumpiska at nawala ang lahat ng aklat. Iilan lamang ang natirang kopya sa Ghent na kung saan ibinenta ito sa napakataas na halaga na umabot sa 400 pesetas bawat kopya. Let us move on sa dedication of the novel. To the memory of the priest, Don Mariano Gomez, 85 years old, Don Jose Burgos, 30 years old, and Don Jacinto Zamora, 35 years old, executed in Bagong Bayan Field on the 20th of February 1872. To straighten historical records, however, we must rectify Rizal's historical inaccuracies in his dedicatory note. The martyrdom of Gombursa occurred on February 7, 1872. Father Gomez was 73 years old, not 85. Father Burgos was 35 years old, not 30. And Father Zamora was 37 years old, not 35. So here, sinasabi naman na sumasalamin na hindi pa rin nalilimutan ni Rizal ang kabayanihan ng tatlong paring martir. Sila ay ang Gumbursa o si Mariano Gomez na 85 taong gulang, si Jose Burgos na 30 taong gulang, si Don Jacinto Zamora na 35 taong gulang na ginarote sa Bagong Bayan noong ika-28 ng Pebrero 1872. Ngunit ayon sa kasaysayan na kung saan ayon kay Rizal, Pebrero 28 noong ginarote sa Bagong Bayan ang Gumburza. Ngunit sa kawastuhan, they was executed on February 17, which is 73 anyos si Gomez at hindi 85 anyos. 35 anyos si Burgos at hindi 30 anyos. 37 anyos naman si Zamora at hindi 35. Let us proceed to the manuscript. The original manuscript of El Filibusterismo in Rizal's own handwriting is now preserved in the Filipiniana Division of the Bureau of Public Libraries in Manila. It had been acquired by the Philippine government from Valentin Ventura for 10,000 pesos. It consists of 279 pages of long sheets of paper. The title page of El Fili contains an inscription written by Ferdinand Blumentritt and features that didn't appear in the printed book are forward and warning. So dito, ang orihinal na manuscript ng El Filibusterismo sa sariling sulat kamay ni Rizal ay nasa pamamahala na ng Filipiniana Division ng Bureau of Public Libraries sa Maynila. Binili ng pamahalaang Filipino kay Valentin Ventura sa halagang 10,000 pesos na binubuo ng 279 na pahina ng mahabang pirasong papel. May ilang pahina ang binago at iniwasto ng may akda sa kabuuan ng manuskrito. Ngunit ang paunang salita at ang babala ay hindi isinama upang makabawas sa halaga ng pagpapalimbag. So, diyan nagtatapos ang aking report. Thank you and God bless.
Good afternoon everyone. My name is Rolly Corpus and this is my report. Synopsis of the El Filibusterismo. First is Simon. Simon, the main protagonist of the story, a rich jeweler. Second is Doña Victorina. Doña Victorina is a ridiculously a pro-Spanish woman. Next is Tiburcio de Espadana, husband of Doña Victorina. Next is Paulita Gomez. Paulita Gomez is a beautiful niece of Don Tiburcio. Benzaib. Benzaib is a Spanish journalist who writes silly articles about Filipinos. Next is Padre Sibila. Padre Sibila is Vice Rector of UST. Next is Padre Camora. Padre Camora is a Spanish priest of Chani. Next is Don Custodio. Don Custodio is a pro-Spanish Filipino holding a high position in the government. Next is Padre Sibila. Padre Salve pala. Sorry. Padre Salve. Padre Salve is a Franciscan friar, a former cura of San Diego. Padre Irene is a kind of friar who was a friend to Filipino student. Padre Florentino is a retired scholarly and patriotic Filipino priest. Next is Isagani. Isagani is a nephew of Padre Florentino and lover of Paulita. Next is Basilio. Basilio is a son of Sisa, a promising medical student. Next is Capitan Tiago. Capitan Tiago is a patron of Basilio. And next is Quiroga. Quiroga is a richest Chinese merchant. Next is Cabezang Tales or Tales. Cabezang Tales, father of Julie, disposed of his land in Chani by friars. Julie is the lover of Basilio and Macaraig. Macaraig is a rich and leader of Filipino students in their movement to earn Spanish in the academy. Padre Million. Padre Million is a teaches physics in UST without experiments. Next is Placido. Placido Penitente is a student of Padre Million who became disoriented because of the poor method of instructions. Next is Senor Pasta. Senor Pasta is an old Filipino lawyer who refuses to help Filipino students in their advocacy. Tandang Selo is a grandfather of Julie. And next is Mr. American. Mr. American, owner of the sideshow and the pair of Quiapo exhibiting an Egyptian mummy. Sandoval is a Spanish student who support the cause of Filipino students to propagate the teaching of Spanish. Next is Cabeza Andang. Cabeza Andang, mother of Placido Penitente. Pipa is a pretty dancer and mistress of Don Custodio. Next is Padre Fernandez, a good Dominican friar and friend of Isagani. Next is Don Timoteo. Don Timoteo is father of Juanito Pelaez. Next is Tano, son of Cabezang Tales and brother of Judy. Last is Chichay. Chichay is the silversmith who made the bridal earring for Paulita Gomez. That's all. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Nigel Claire Badwa Pagila, a student from Malig Plains Colleges taking up Bachelor of Secondary Education major in English. Our report for today is Chapter 19, which is El Filibusterismo, published in Ghent. My assigned slide in Chapter 19 are slide number 17 to slide number 20. Okay, I will read you first what is slide number 17. Characters from El Filibusterismo were drawn by Rizal from real life. Padre Florentino was Father Leoncio Lopez, Isagani was Vicente Ilustre, and Paulita Gomez was Leonor Rivera. When we notice El Filibusterismo is a pure revenge to Spanish, and the characters there was compared to real people which are Padre Florentino as Father Leoncio and so on and so forth. Slide number 18. Senator Vicente Encarnacion Ilustre, September 8, 1869 to September 27, 1928. Vicente Ilustre or Vicente Encarnacion Ilustre or Don Vicente obtained a law doctorate at the Universidad Central de Madrid. Padre Florentino is the only Indio priest mentioned in El Filibusterismo, since most Indios end up as priest assistants. And Leonor Rivera is thought to be the inspiration for the character of Maria Clara in Noli Me Tangere and El Filibusterismo. Slide number 19. Noli and Fili compared. Noli, romantic novel, work of the heart, a book of feeling. It has freshness, color, humor, lightness, and wit. And it has 64 chapters. While in El Fili, political novel, work of the head, a book of thought, it contains bitterness, hatred, pain, violence, and sorrow, and it has 38 chapters. When we read the whole Noli, it has a love story of Chrysostom Ibarra and Maria Clara. And Dr. Jose Rizal wrote it with his feelings and using his heart with full of inspiration to our country. While in El Fili, it is more on revenge in the Spanish. It is a book of thought wherein he liked to open the mind of every Filipino using the story or the novel, and when you notice it is full of hatred, bitterness, pain, violence, and sorrow. Because he already noticed that sooner or later he will be die in their hands, and just even in the book he can do something for the Filipino. And the last slide number 20, the issue of which is the superior novel. Noli or the Fili is purely academic. They are purely academic in the way that it explained and revealed the true situation of the Philippines in the hands of Spaniards. Both are good novels from the point of view of history. Yes, we can say that they are good novels because it has a sense and deep story with a touching heart through of the story of Filipino. Both depict with realistic colors the actual conditions of the Philippines and the Filipinos during the decadent days of Spanish rule. Because Noli and El Fili was written with a purpose and it contained the true colors and the situation of the Filipino. Both are instrumental in awakening the spirit of Filipino nationalism. Yes, they are both a tools to awaken the Filipino who has not educated and has no unity for their rights. Both are responsible in paving the ground for Philippines revolution that brought about the downfall of Spain. Danoli and Alfili have been used as their sword to fight for their rights against the Spaniards for their independence. And the last one, Alfili is a true twin of Noli. Yes, they are true twin because they are connected to each other. They are related. Okay, that would be all. Thank you and God bless.
Good afternoon, ma'am. Good afternoon, classmate. My name is Crystal Shane Tumamaw. My report is The Unfinished Third Novel, September 22, 1891, Rizal wrote to Blumentritt saying that he's thinking of writing a third novel where ethics will play principal role. October 18, 1891, boarded the steamer Melbourne in Marseilles bound for Hong Kong. During the voyage, he wrote the third novel in Tagalog, in which he intended for Tagalog readers. In Hong Kong, he continued it but did not finish because his Tagalog was inadequate for literary purpose. The unfinished third novel has no title. It consists of 44 pages in Rizal handwriting. In Hong Kong, in 1892, Jose Rizal began writing a sequel to El Filibusterismo. He began in Tagalog, called the opening chapter Makamisa, then started anew in Spanish and eventually left behind the two texts comprising an unfinished third novel. The manuscript is still preserved in the Bureau of Public Libraries. The hero of the novel was Kamandagan, a descendant of Lakandula, last king of Tondo. He plotted to regain the lost freedom of his fathers. It is said that Rizal was fortunate not to finish this novel because it would have caused greater scandal and more Spanish veterans of him. Other unfinished novels, Makamisa, a Tagalog novel written in light sarcastic style, incomplete with only 2 chapters, consists of only of 20 pages. The Pitan, written in ironic Spanish, he wrote it while in the Pitan to depict the town life and custom. Consists of 8 pages. A novel in Spanish about the life in Pili, a town in Laguna, consists of 147 pages without title. Another unfinished novel of Rizal also without title is about Cristobal, a youthful Filipino student who has returned from Europe. Consists of it with 34 pages. The beginning of another novel are contained in 2 notebooks. The first notebook contains 31 written page while the second contains 12 page, written in Spanish and the style is ironic. That's all. Good day everyone.